How's it going, everyone? This is another Security Unfiltered mentorship episode. So, last couple weeks, I did not put an episode in, mostly because I forgot, because I was pretty sick the past couple weeks. Even now, I may cough a little bit or need to clear my throat, during this recording here, just like that. And, I'm getting over whatever it was, a cold or whatever. But, I thought today would be a great time to actually just kind of talk about moonlighting and how to use it to take your career to the next level. Okay, so there's a lot of different kinds of moonlighting, and I think that this is a topic that isn't really talked about. It's not discussed very often. I never even heard the term moonlighting until I actually started doing it myself, and someone else actually told me, that term and what it was and everything. It was, news to me, right? So let's just start with what it is. Moonlighting is basically anything that you're doing sort of work related or career related outside of work hours. So you weren't assigned this. You're not doing it for your 9-to-5 job or anything like that. This is something that you're doing to basically better yourself and, get yourself into a different place in your career. And often I forget about this part in my career. Earlier on in my career, everyone knows the story by now. For 2.5 years, I worked at a help desk job. I enjoyed the team. I didn't mind the work and whatnot, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't cybersecurity. Even though I was focused more on the security side of the house, it wasn't a security dedicated or security focused role. And so that's a huge difference, between being in cybersecurity and not being in cybersecurity. And the opportunity came up just through a friend to actually be a security analyst for a small consulting firm out of the DC/Virginia area. I would be in-house security consultant. I wouldn't be client facing or anything like that. And I think the position was actually like security analyst. But to be completely honest with you, that was a stretch. Like that term, that title was a stretch for what a security analyst actually is. And it doesn't really do it justice, to be completely honest with you. But the title was security analyst, and that's what mattered. And I'll tell you why that mattered. So I did this job during my off hours. I mean, literally, I would go to work from 8 to 5. I'd get home by about 5:30, maybe 6 o'clock. Let's just call it 6 o'clock, Monday through Friday. And I would eat, and by 7 o'clock, I'm clocking in to start working as a security analyst. And I'm setting up, different tools, setting up different solutions, alerting, monitoring, logging, all that sort of stuff, just getting my hands in different technologies. And this is also why it's important to network with people. I networked with someone at my current company, right? Someone that not very many people befriended at that company. Not many people liked even, but I befriended this person, and he made the connection, right? When I told him, like, hey, I want to get into security, but I don't know how to do it, and nothing's working for me. He immediately said, oh, I have a friend that has a security company. It's, SOC as a service, back when SOC as a service was like a cutting edge, brand new thing, very niche area. Not many places even knew about it. And he put me in touch with him, right? And the opportunity overall was pretty poor. It was actually pretty poor. I wasn't making a huge amount of money. I wasn't making, 80 grand, which is the typical salary of a security analyst. Nothing like that. I mean, it was hourly. I think I was making maybe $20 an hour, something like that. Like nothing crazy. But it was something, right? You do notice that for sure. It gives you some more spending money and whatnot. But I took that opportunity to really add that title to my resume. And the importance of that is that I use that opportunity, that title, that light amount of experience. And I'm very open, with people about what that opportunity was, what I did, what I didn't do, things like that. But I took that opportunity to add that to my resume. And then it gave my resume more power, more validity when I'm applying to these security roles. It shows, hey, this person does have a security dedicated role. It's not his day job. He's doing it after hours. For someone to do that, they must really love it, and it's coming out now that the best security professionals are the ones that love it, the ones that, actually want to be in this field. And the reason being is that security is literally, it is so stressful at times. The work is so difficult at times that if you do not love it and you just love the paycheck, you're not going to last in it very long. And if you do last in it, you will be miserable. You will go home every day, feeling relieved that you left that place, right? And, you will dread the morning when you're waking up, going to work. Like I've had jobs before where, I have dreaded going to work. I mean, like I wake up that day and I'm literally like, man, should I just call in sick? And, you look down at the calendar and it's like, oh, it's Friday. This is literally the 5th day in a row where I was like, should I call in sick? That's a thing, and it's not fun. And so if you go into security, just because you want the money, because you want the paycheck, right? Whatever it might be, if you don't love it, you're going to find yourself in that situation. And so moonlighting shows to other people, not only that you're capable of doing it, not only that you, have that title or have some light experience, but that you love it, and they feel more comfortable giving you the opportunity, knowing that you're going to probably love it, you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to strive in it, right? That's what people really want. But back then, that wasn't really the mentality. The mentality was not, oh, you have to love it to really be in it. It was like, you have to be in security to be in security. That was the mentality. There was no factor of drive or anything else like that. No one really cared. And so that's why I was such an outlier, kind of in the industry around me, was that I really wanted it. I really wanted to be in security. I really wanted to do everything that I possibly could to get into this field because it fit my mentality. It fit my personality. It fit, how I think through problems, how I assess them, my thought process. It fit all of those things. It allowed me to be very analytical, look at problems from a holistic point of view, which is hard to find, in a lot of careers and a lot of areas. It's hard to find, especially if you don't become a doctor or a lawyer. If you're not a doctor, lawyer, scientist, what other jobs are really going to have that opportunity to really challenge you, mentally in those ways? Right. And that, look, I'm probably forgetting, 99% of the jobs that are like that. Right. This is really more of a off the cuff, discussion with you guys talking about my path. Well, I bring that up because kind of twofold, right? One, you take that opportunity to advance your career, but you also take it to advance your skill set, to advance, your own knowledge of a topic and whatnot. And you don't have to know everything up front going into it. You really don't. When I took that security analyst job, I didn't know anything. I mean, I literally didn't know anything. I had my Security Plus certification at the time, which is a good foundation, but that is it. I did some security tasks and security, work at my day job, but it wasn't a security analyst work or anything like that. And so I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I didn't know. And that's a huge thing. That's where it catches a lot of people up. And I say this because you shouldn't let it catch you up. You shouldn't let it take over your mentality and affect your decision, right? This is something that I've talked about a lot on my podcast with my guests, is the fact that you don't need to know everything, or you don't need to have everything on the job description ticked off in your resume, in your experience, in order for you to apply to that job. If you're at 50, a lot of people that I've talked to say that if you're at 50% of the requirements for that position in the job description, you should apply to it. Because there's a lot of people out there that are realizing that really the important stuff that they need from a candidate is maybe 50% of what they put on the job description. Anything above that is good to have. It's nice to have. It makes things a little bit easier, but it's not required. And the other 50% that this candidate may be lacking, they can absolutely, train it up. They can absolutely fill those gaps and things like that. And so it's not a big deal. And so in this situation of moonlighting, it was extremely beneficial for me to suck it up and do that job. Now, I think, if I remember right, I think this opportunity only lasted maybe 9 months. It wasn't too crazy long, but it was just enough to give me that line on the resume that allowed me to get in the door somewhere else as a full-time security engineer, which was my goal. And, I want to I bring that up because even now, I'm about 10 years into this career. I'm still doing it now. I'm still doing different moonlighting opportunities, and I'm struggling through recovering from a cold, but I'm struggling, or I'm still going through different moonlighting opportunities. It could be something like a virtual CISO. It could be this podcast even, right? This podcast has opened up doors I never would have expected. Could be being an adjunct professor. It could be creating course content for InfoSec Institute that recently got bought out by Cengage. I can't say their name. Cengage, whatever. It could be doing that. It could be getting certifications. In my opinion, moonlighting can also be your own training in the career, right? So it could be you going out of your way, studying for a certification, setting that goal, setting a deadline, and then working to achieve it. And I say this because it seems like there is a huge debate going on among the millionaires out there that are saying that if you're still working from home and you don't want to return to the office, you've been cheating, you've been stealing, you've been doing something wrong, which is maybe the most incorrect statement I've ever heard. Maybe the most. that anyone could ever tell you about your career. Working from home has enabled me to be significantly more productive for my 9 to 5. Significantly more productive. When I was in the office, I was spending time talking to people about shit that I didn't need to be talking to them about around the water cooler, in the cafeteria, wherever it was. I worked in the office for maybe 2 actual hours a day, right? Maybe. Okay. And I know everyone's going to say, oh, that sounds terrible. That's really bad. This and that, right? But you're being pulled into meetings. You're being pulled into other conversations about different topics. So is it really hands-on keyboard? I'm actually engineering something. I'm actually building something or doing whatever. No, I'm actually in these meetings, physically and, addressing whatever issues are coming up. Now that I'm at home, we can fire up a Teams meeting, right? That's scheduled for an hour. This is a perfect example today. Teams call scheduled for an hour. We got through it in 20 minutes. We got off the call. I went straight into, literally without leaving my desk, I went straight into my consoles and started working again on the projects that I have to deliver by the end of the year, which actually, mind you, I am ahead of schedule. I'm significantly ahead of schedule on those projects. If I was in the office, I would probably be, not ahead of schedule. I'll tell you that much. Definitely not ahead of schedule. But it's a joke. It's a joke that these millionaires and billionaires are trying to tell us now, is that we're cheating, ourselves. We're cheating the company. We're cheating them, because we're working from home, right? Because they can't rationalize spending billions of dollars on real estate to house all their employees, and they want to have that asset as a write-off in their company's, accounting at the end of the year. And that's essentially what it is. That's the game. If I rented an office building or just an office space for this podcast, right? I could write it all off. I could write off 100% of it, basically, and, declare it as losses and things like that, right? Because it's the cost of doing business. Oh, I have to have this office, It's all a game, and I'm not knocking them for playing the game, right? It's a game. You need to know the rules. This is the real world, right? If you don't know the rules and you don't know it's a game, you're going to lose no matter what. But the opportunity of working remote provides more value to the company. It actually does. It enables me to do the work that I want to do. It enables me to actually be happier because now I get to spend more time with my family. That's brand new family. I get to spend more time with my brand new family. And while I'm doing that, right after hours, there's no 1 hour commute home or 90-minute commute home. I can get right into studying for different certifications and different skill sets that I need to obtain to be more effective in my 9 to 5. So please, someone please educate me as to how I'm cheating a multi-billion-dollar company. That's the craziest thing to me that I've heard in a long time. It's just absurd to think like that you're stealing because you're remote. It's like, I can see if you're working 2, 3, 4 full-time jobs, right? And you're not telling any of your employers about the other employer, and you're making, 3, 4 times the salary, right? And, mind you, when you do that, other things are going to be dropped off of these other jobs, and you're going to be juggling it a lot more than you would actually think. That's not right. In my opinion, that's not right. That's not fair to that company. Especially, if you're if you're literally working a security engineering role and you're 9 to 5, and maybe it's a little bit of a slower season, you're not doing that much, and then you get another full-time remote job as a security engineer, maybe it's not even the same industry or whatnot as your first 9 to 5, but it's still a security engineer role, and you're working that role at this other company. That's kind of shitty. That's not something that I would do. That's not something that I have done. That's not something I would advocate for. The work that you're doing at these moonlighting opportunities has to be different from what your 9 to 5 is, because you need to be using that as a stepping stone to your next role, to your next goal. That's a really good way of actually doing it, that a lot of people, I think they forget about it. They don't talk about it. This is the first time in maybe ever that, I've heard someone talk about it, right? And so it kind of just hit me, and I was like, oh, I need to talk about this, because I've actually done this in my career to get me to that next level that seemed to be unobtainable, unsurmountable, and as soon as I did this moonlighting thing, put in a little bit more effort, yes, guess what? I was more tired. I got less sleep, but it was all worth it in the long run. So, I just wanted to bring that up. And, again, moonlighting is not necessarily working an entirely separate job. It literally could be you studying for a certification. These things, for me, it's really whatever goes into making you a better professional in your career field. That's what that is. So, I just wanted to talk about that because, I've also seen a lot of, videos start popping up on YouTube talking about you're cheating your employer by working from home. That's the most frustrating thing, right, for me, because it's like, probably 95% of the people that are moonlighting, they're doing it because they want to provide a better life for their family. They want to advance their career. They want to do better overall. And for me, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. If you have no ill intentions, and you don't want to, harm anyone or harm the company that you're working for or anything like that, then there should be no issue. And, it's like these people are out of touch, because I'm sure some of them did this earlier on in their career where they were working, 2 jobs or doing multiple things trying to get to where they are today. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Honestly, like at the end of the day, I think the whole push to go back into the office, in my opinion, is really just so that they can rationalize, spending the money, utilizing the real estate that they invested in, that's turning into a liability, used to be an asset, and now they're debating about getting rid of it, and they don't want to get that asset off of their P&L. And that's what it is. In my opinion, that's what it is, because, people want to say, oh, you're missing out on the water cooler talks. You're missing out on promotions because of these water cooler talks, whatever that is. Right. And I think that's absolute BS. When I start a fully remote job, when I start a new one, a fully remote job, the very first thing I do for the first 90 days is I'm meeting with all of my managers' peers, and I'm meeting with all of their managers. So I'm meeting with directors, VPs. I'm meeting with other, managers. All of these people are the teams that I will be working with. They own these teams. So I'm building that relationship. And then I have monthly touch bases with all of them. Like, hey, how can I help you? What areas are you struggling with? What areas do you need more help with? how can I actually help you and make your life easier? So that replaces the water cooler talk, right? And that's a quick 30 minutes, maybe a monthly, maybe a quarterly call where, you're just reaching out, seeing if you can help them in some way. That's all that is. That replaces the hour that I'm spending at the water cooler over, an entire week, so to speak, talking to these people to get a promotion. That's BS. In my opinion, that is BS. I know CISOs that are fully remote, and there's no need for them to go back into the office, and their companies are trying to order everyone back into the office. And, these CISOs are telling their security teams, like, hey, everyone else is going to go back into the office. This doesn't apply to you. Because they know if they don't offer these benefits, right? If they don't give these benefits to their security team is literally just going to go somewhere else. Because literally, the last time I checked, I think there's a 5 million headcount shortage in cybersecurity. Literally, there's 5 million roles more than what there are actually in the profession. And so in security, literally the stat is, I think it's 99%, 98 or 99% of people employed in cybersecurity are switching jobs rather than getting laid off or fired and then finding another job, or quitting without having another job lined up. 98 or 99% are just switching jobs. So like they're working and then they put in their 2 weeks notice and then they go to another job. So they're not unemployed for a certain amount of time. They're just going from one job to another. That shows you that cybersecurity professionals are still in very high demand. And that's not going away. That's not changing anytime soon. There's literally 5 million open roles more than the amount of professionals that we have in the field. The best way to get into security is to start getting the certifications that no one else wants to get. To be quite honest with you, I was a little bit stunned with this stat. I looked up how many people in I think it was America, that have the CCSP certification, right? The Certified Cloud Security Professional or Practitioner, or whatever it is. I have it. So you would think I would know what it is. But it's ISC Squared's cloud version of the CISSP, essentially. There's only 5,000 people in America that have that certification. That certification is growing in demand. I can tell that it's growing in demand because more and more job applications, you're seeing CISSP or CCSP on cloud security and architect roles. The reason being is that people are seeing, oh, not everyone has a CISSP. Well, the next best thing, CCSP, that fits more with the cloud. We can use that. But there's only 5,000 of us, roughly, that have this certification in North America or in America. And then if you look at the CISSP, that number is not dramatically higher. I thought it would be millions. I think when I checked, it was like 50,000, which is insane because the CISSP has been around for like 20 years at this point. It's been around for 20 years. I think the CCSP has been around for 6 or 7 years, something like that. Don't quote me. I don't know how long these things have been around, but I know CISSP has been around significantly longer than the CCSP. I would have thought more people had them. And so how you get these roles is getting those certifications that not many other people have. When you're getting them, you think everyone has them, and you see them on all these job descriptions, and you probably see them on people on LinkedIn's, their profile and whatnot. Those are the minority. Those are not the majority. Those are the minority. This is something that I'm learning myself. But that should add a little bit of fire in you to actually go out there and moonlight and learn new skills, go after new certifications, make the changes that you need to make so that yourself in 10 years will thank the old self for making those sacrifices. All right, guys. That's all that I have for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it helps someone out there. Go out there and make a difference. All right. See you guys.